All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Life-Undeferred Open Mic. Got a great guest for you, a friend of mine that we are going to have a deep conversation. His name is Ken Packard. We're going to bring him onto the stream here shortly. But just a quick update in the Valley of Life-Undeferred. Got a brand new website that has just launched. So many new tools. Please go check this out at jaredsebesta.com. You're going to see a brand new masterclass that is available on demand, how to become unrecognizable in 365 days. And then I've got another masterclass, how to stop playing small, that is coming up on March the 15th. So you can go to that website, go check it out. There's other free tools on there as well. By the way, if you follow me on social media, just made the announcement. I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I was going to try to hang on to this one for a little bit, but I'm launching my own podcast called The Breakthrough Effect, and that is coming into fruition in April. So a lot of cool things happening in the Life-Undeferred camp. So excited to be bringing you along on this journey and continuing to do great live streams like this and bring on great guests like my next guest, Ken Packard. He's a transformation expert with 25 plus years of experience leading financial teams through volatile markets. After seeing countless professional hits the wall of burnout stagnation, Ken developed the 9 Non-Negotiable Behaviors for personal transformation, a framework that is helping teams break free from being stuck to achieve breakthrough performance. He's speaking my language right off the bat. His unique top-down, bottom-up approach creates lasting change at both organizational and individual levels. Please give it up for my friend and a friend in the space of transformation, Ken Packard. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks very much for having me, Jared. I appreciate it. And congratulations on all your recent developments. I wish you the best of success with that. It's very exciting. And I know you've been working really hard. I know you're going to make an impact. So I'm excited to take the journey with you.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. I received that very much. Let's get right into it. And likewise, sure. I'm a fan of yours and I love what you do. Let's get right into it. Like you talk about getting unstuck. You help teams become unstuck. What's a time that you were stuck in your own life, personally or maybe professionally?
Great lead in. Yeah. I mean, the guy who who coaches on getting unstuck maybe was stuck once or twice himself. Right. So, and I counsel, I've been in essence run sales teams for over a quarter century, as you said. And one of the foundational convictions that I have, right, is that the growth of a company is dependent on the growth of its people, right? Eventually the growth of a company becomes dependent on the growth of its people. And I've had times where I've been stuck in my life and I wasn't firing on all cylinders professionally. Conversely, when I would get unstuck and a new version of me would evolve, right? Life undeferred, then I performed at a new and higher level, right? So just some examples, my personal journey, I actually just on February 22nd, I celebrated 21 years of sobriety. So not drinking, certainly got me unstuck and I was stuck there. I also I gained and lost 80 pounds and I've kept 80 pounds off for 7 years now. So through my 30s, I was pretty big for about 15 years. Those are just two personal examples of getting stuck, but as we know, it has an impact on our personal life, certainly in the realm of sales and in the realm of business. We're creatures of habit who gravitate to routine. And the three most dangerous words in any company, in my opinion, is business as usual, right? And a lot of times we convince ourselves that here are the things that we need to do because they're business as usual. And that can get us stuck too, because we ultimately get disconnected from the priorities and the things that will actually make the business grow and move forward.
Is that a mindset shift that people, or a trap, I should call it, that people fall into? Or yes. Are there setbacks that create that? Or like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, I just think that we naturally gravitate to structure and routine, right? Groundhog Day is that. And then you get into the societal contract and like, this is what we think we're supposed to be doing. And the priorities are the priorities, whether or not we ourselves actually buy into them, right? Personally. So this can create a lot of lack of alignment and engagement. So I think really the mindset shift, and this is one of the things I train and talk about, and I think it's right in lockstep with what you talk about. Really, if you break it down, life and business is about three things. Here it is. Number one, our connections, our relationships, right? all business is human, right? It's all about our business connections and our relationships. The lessons of the dying is that relationships are ultimately what matters, right? So number one in life is connections and relationships, and that's good for business. Number two, our behavior, right? How are we behaving through word and deed? How intentional is it? How aligned is it with our priorities? Does the individual, as an individual or as a company, are we aligned on those priorities, right? Number three, our use of time. We only have so much time, and is our time being aligned to our priorities, right? Are we using time to behave in a way that either creates new relationships, connections, growing the business, or serves the existing relationships and connections we have? And when you see things with that degree of clarity, then you can actually begin to move forward. And I think that's a critical mindset shift, and it has to start from the beginning, right? The leadership has to guide the culture of the firm to recognize the importance of those three things.
I love that. You use the word alignment, which is a word that I love that word. I think we get into so many problems professionally, relationally,
right.
Personally, when we're out of alignment. When we're in alignment, it seems like that's we were created to be in alignment. That's the word divine beings, and there's something supernatural when we get in alignment, and something that's feels like you're swimming upstream when you get out of alignment. That's kind of what you're saying.
Absolutely. Well, there's a quote, and I'll butcher it, but in essence, and it's an old quote where it says, you can sum up all human conflict by mismatched expectations, right? Which ultimately is alignment. And if you really think about it, the stress that you feel in your life when you're feeling unproductive or stuck, a lot of times that is a conflict of expectations or a lack of alignment with your behavior, with the vision, like you talk about, moving away from someday, right? Like our daily behavior is not aligned with the vision of what we have in our head or where our heart is pushing us. And that lack of alignment is what creates the sensation of being stuck.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people, they don't know how to articulate what that feeling is. Let me rephrase that. They can articulate what the feeling is, but they don't know the root cause. Like what are some signs? You mentioned anxiety,
right?
Like that you're out of alignment, or maybe worse, getting close to like burnout, which is really detrimental to obviously a business.
Right. So, well, and we talk about this on a personal level, right? A lot of times. So behavior number 3 in my framework is develop transformative habits and routines. This speaks to the behavior component that I addressed earlier, right? And that begs questions, right? And everyone has habits that they want to break, and everyone has habits that they want to build. But many times the first question that you need to ask is, what do I need to stop? What is the thing that's doing laps in my head? What am I doing that I know I should not be doing? I already shared some of my examples previously. When I was drinking, that was the number one thing I knew I needed to stop. When I was morbidly obese, that was the number one thing I knew I needed to address. And progress in any other area was probably going to be difficult until I addressed that, right? So I like to just break things down into simple questions and simple answers, and then simple behaviors, small wins, as you like to say, that can move us in the direction of that. So what do I need to break? What do I need to build? Pick one. Usually it's the stopping first, but it may be the starting. For example, in a sales organization, it's amazing how many salespeople don't actually prospect, right? So they need to begin to execute that behavior through their use of time, as an example to benchmark it back to the framework that I discussed.
Yeah, I love that. That is such rich content. I love that. Use the word transformation. I love the word transformation. It seems like, again, the habits and the small wins are great, but those things all add to the transformation of the inner being, which is kind of, where I love to focus my attention. Right. You talk about transformation, purposeful transformation in the context of business. There's a hustle culture out there that's like go and grind. Like, where do these two overlap, and where are they very, very different?
Yeah, I believe that we should strip it down. I believe that, look, you need to work hard, right? There's a difference, as we know, working hard, working smart, right? I believe that we were too fragmented. This goes back to the business as usual, and everyone's so busy, but what are we really doing, right? Behavior 4 in the framework is change your relationship with time, right? Time is the most valuable asset. And we know this. Ask anyone who would give anything for more of it. And we've all had experiences in our life where we would give anything for more time. But it doesn't matter how much money you have because more time can't be bought. So we really can't squander our time. And I think ultimately what companies do, and this could be part of hustle culture, grind, whatever, right? We're so busy, but what are we actually doing? And can you go across the organization and say, what are the top 3 priorities that we're executing and why? When was the last time a leader even asked you those questions? When was the last time someone asked you your opinion on what you think those should be doing? Right? So when you actually get into someone's daily calendar, I like to go into organizations. I say, I got a 5-minute test, right? We're strangers. I should be able to look into your calendar and within 5 minutes tell you what's important to you. That's the test, right? And if all the time is being allocated towards aligned priorities, that organization probably doesn't need to hire me, right? But in reality, the vast majority of the time, that's not what's happening. So you have to pull the veil back, confront the reality of what's really going on, and then build from there. And usually what they find is when you can align on the top priorities and people actually begin behaving and leveraging time towards what everyone agrees is important, things start to change.
Yeah. I think of the 80-20 rule. That just comes to mind when you were talking. We spend 80% of our time producing 20%. Do you find that true in your work?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we delude ourselves into thinking things are important that aren't, right? And another thing that you do, which I love with your roadmap, right? Behavior 1 of my framework is get out of your head and get on the record. And when you help guide people through your roadmap, the entire thing is an articulation exercise. Mm-hmm. And there's so much value in that. That's why journaling is so powerful, right? But when we go into organizations and everybody's working hard, and I know that they are, my heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to the people I coach when they're working their asses off, but they don't feel like they're getting it where they need to be because the organization is not clear on priorities and they haven't culturally done what they need to do to support them making progress in that direction, right? So I think all of that's very, very important.
Yeah.
So getting out of your head and getting on the record is an important part of that.
Huge part. The vision kind of sets the goals and everything should align. I think, to go back to some of the verbiage you use, that's where this is all about.
One of my favorite phrases that always sticks with people is if you can't articulate it, it doesn't exist. And people stay stuck in their head. And then we delude ourselves that we're actually behaving in accordance with what's going to get us there. But until we actually get into our words, as I like to say, and put it down on paper, and then begin to anchor just a few behaviors towards that, right? It's all in the murk until we make it real. And that's the way to make it real.
Let's get ahead of somebody that's watching this. They're hearing what you're saying. Makes sense. Makes total sense, right? I want to apply it, but it feels like there's going to be some resistance. Like, what is the hang up for people that you bring this framework to? You explain it the way that you did it very articulately, and you can see the results because of it. Why? What is the holdup, or where is the resistance point for people to take this and really, really apply it so it can kind of cause their own breakthrough personally and professionally?
Well, you have to have a why, right? Like pain is the touchstone to progress. And by the way, this is a really important point that you make, right? I've trained a lot of salespeople. I've gone into organizations and I've trained a lot of salespeople. But shooting straight, Jared, if the leadership culturally is not behind it, it's despite the efforts of the individual, and absolutely individuals can make progress, but organizationally, if there isn't buy-in, where together we decide this is our priority, this is what we are going to work on. You have latitude now to make adjustments so that you can begin to make progress on that. That often is a big holdup, right? Because even if the individual wants to move forward, if they feel like they got a safe over their head, it's going to be hard, right? And you talk about this with sacrificing perceived productivity, right? So that is a very important part of it. I don't know if you'd like to comment on that.
Yeah. Is that a culture thing? Not to take this conversation on culture, but like how do you fix that then if there's not buy-in with your employees or with the individuals? And how do you create that? You
got to start with the leader. The best engagements I have are when the individual leading the team recognizes that things need to change. And it's basically, for lack of a better phrase, supported and endorsed from above, right? Mm-hmm. And they themselves are also willing to participate in the change and change themselves, right? Culture, as we know, is a superpower, right? By the way, the other thing that you said, what is the holdup? A lot of times, this is another thing I talk about. Human beings have this nasty habit that we search for secrets, right? There are multi-billion-dollar industries, right? You know, I lost 80 pounds and I kept it off for 7 years. I avoided the multi-billion-dollar trap of the weight loss marketing industry. You know what I did? I started to eat better and I took a walk. That's how I started. I do more than that now, but that's how I started. And there's so much power in trusting simple answers. Simple and effective is infinitely more powerful than some secret hack, right? But many times we talk about mindset shifts. It's all about mindset. Is the individual in enough distress that they realize, okay, if there is an answer, even if it's a simple answer, I am willing to execute that simple answer with a degree of consistency and see where it gets me. And then you don't have to leverage the whole framework at once. You can just do one behavior at once and trust a simple answer and see where it gets you. So that's another important thing that people need to embrace.
I agree with you. I think we overcomplicate for a guy who tries to stay in shape at my ripe old 46 years old.
Yeah.
It's not real rocket science. It's just like, you know what? Yeah. From a diet standpoint, have way more days where you're on track than off track and stay super consistent, moving things that are heavy and moving your body. I know it's more complicated than that, but it really.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, if you do it every day, that might just get you where you need to be.
But that's the key every day.
I'll give you one succinct answer also. This is really good. And it's good for sales organizations. It's good for leaders and it's good for individuals. And it ultimately talks about our blockers, right? So I define the 6 things that ultimately block us, right? So here's what blocks growth. Here's what people have to confront in order to begin to move forward, right? Because no one wants to stagnate. Everybody wants to grow and change for the better. This is intrinsic to the human condition, right? So by putting a spotlight on the things that hold us back, that's how we can begin to move forward, all right? So number 1 is you must look within. It's always self. That which holds us back always lies within. The Greek philosopher Zeno had the quote, "Man conquers the world by conquering himself." So the individual must look within or the organization must look within. That's why the leadership must have buy-in. Number 2 is business as usual, right? This daily routine, the daily grind. If you submit to the whirlwind of business as usual long enough, one day you're going to look in the rearview mirror feeling like you've been a passenger in your own life. And that's being stuck, right? Number 3, as I alluded before, searching for secrets. When you stop searching and just begin and you're willing to accept simple answers and execute them, you'll move forward. Number 4, as you just referenced, overthinking. We are overthinking and we are underbehaving. And trusting simple answers helps us to eliminate that. The last thing, behavior 5 is overcomplication. We tend to overcomplicate. We overthink and we overcomplicate. Einstein has the quote, "The definition of genius is taking the complex and making it simple." Overcomplication is not the answer. And the last thing is fear. Fear of success, fear runs through all of those blockers. So that's the quick 6 that each individual and organization needs to square up on before they can even begin to work on the framework that I talked about.
Yeah.
And then you can begin to leverage your connections, your behavior, and your time.
This is just dynamite, guys. I hope that you're paying attention. I hope that you're awake. If not, watch this again. This is such gold. But like, what an applicable framework for businesses, business leaders, organizations on a personal level. Like, take what Ken is saying here and run with it. Cause this is gold here. And again, why are we having this conversation? Transformation in your business and personally as well. We got to run here already. Let's start landing this plane. You've got a lot to offer. You're a great follow on LinkedIn. Where else can people find you?
Sure. And I do want to give you one last bite on this. Everything I just said about the blockers, anyone in sales, that's exactly what your prospect's facing as well. So the salesperson has to overcome that, but the prospects do as well. But when you understand that, you can guide them through that process and help overcome them. Now you've created more value. That's how you win the deal.
Well, but before you get to your, like, where people can find you, I find it interesting, and I found this true in my life. The people that I'm trying to do business with, their behavior will reflect and mirror my own blockages and mindset places where I need help. Have you ever heard that before? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, so if what is being reciprocated to me by the people I'm trying to do business with, if I don't like it, like whether there's a hold up, hang up, they're being non-committal, it is always a reflection of something happening here. What a great sales awareness technique to be able to see that and articulate that together.
The thing about transformation is it is true for individuals. It is true for companies and we do business with other human beings. So the more that you understand this and you can make progress yourself, the more you can help guide others through it, even in a professional context. That's the differentiator. That's how you ultimately achieve the success you never dreamed of.
Dude, you're on fire, man. You should do this all the time on LinkedIn and give these.
Imagine that. All right. So I'm on LinkedIn or kenpackard.us.
Okay.
Ken@kenpackard.us. I got a PDF of the framework. If people want to email me, very straightforward. Ken@kenpackard.us or Ken Packard on LinkedIn. My website's kenpackard.us. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk with you this morning.
It was a lot of fun. We'll do a part 2. Like I said, I've been following you for a while. You've been on my radar for a while. So I'm glad we finally had an excuse to get together. You're based in Chicago. I'm sure travel all over the country.
Yeah. Wherever. Bring it on.
I hear you, brother. We'll talk. Stay on the line. We'll do a quick chit chat as soon as we're done here. But
sure.
Bye for now. And thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you, buddy. All right. Ken Packard, look him up, follow him on LinkedIn if you're not already doing so. Tons of value there. This was just a little taste of some of the things that he talks about. But what an incredible 20 minutes here of some high value nuggets for you to break through and transform, whether you're on a sales team, own a company, or just trying to break through on an individual level. We're going to wrap it up here. Again, one reminder, just go to jaredsebesta.com, brand new website, brand new logo, brand new masterclasses. A ton of them are free. Brand new announcement that a new podcast is coming, The Breakthrough Effect, in April. Please go to jaredsebesta.com and check it out. We'll drop it here for now, and we'll see you next time on Life